Hello and welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. Since 2019, a way for athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and friends to connect and collaborate no matter where they are around the world. We hope that you enjoyed the podcast and share it with anyone you think will enjoy it as well. And now, let's get this episode started.
Hi, sports fans, friends across the globe, and welcome to this week's episode of the Globetrottin ADs. Here we are, season number 6. We're still kicking, Nick, in our second episode of this season. We're going to talk today about holistic athlete development. Our guest today will be Dr. Ffion Thompson. She's a postdoctoral research fellow in youth athletic development at the Carnegie School of Sport at Leeds Beckett University. So we're excited to hear about some research she's doing and some things she's investigating and hoping to reach out to a broader audience via the Globetrottin ADs. So that's going to be a fun episode. We're going to learn some new things about how our programs can impact kids in a positive way. But before we dig into that, Nick, are you above water over there in Vienna?
Yes, only a little bit of leakage in my house, but yeah, all around us, lots of floodings. Really crazy couple days. We also had our first games against Prague get halved. We played Friday, and then everyone went home Saturday. But we're okay. We're getting through it. It's sunny today, so yeah. If you've seen the news around Austria, lots of flooding and things. But my basement, where I am right now, is fine, and I'm excited to have someone else on the podcast. So, Ffion, welcome to the show.
No, guys, it's good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great. Matt gave a little bit of an intro about yourself, where you are, and a little bit to the episode. But why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself, maybe your background in sport, where you're from, where's this name come from that at least Matt and I haven't heard before?
Yeah, of course. So my name's obviously Ffion, which Matt kindly introduced, and yeah, I'm a postdoctoral research fellow at Leeds Beckett University, specifically concentrating youth athletic development. I'm a student athlete myself. I used to play England hockey and went to school in England at a school called Millfield, and then did my undergrad at Loughborough University before actually going and studying it for 2 years in America, in the States, which I know we were talking about a little bit off air before the podcast, which is an amazing experience. Specialized in exercise physiology, got involved with the Div 1 programs there, and actually learned a lot around student athlete development through the American systems, and came back to England and studied my PhD for 3 years, where I explored what it's like to be a student athlete. So I was embedded within a school within the UK, where I analysed the psychosocial, psychological, athletic and academic impacts of being a student athlete within a UK independent school, and then some of the characteristics and features that kind of promote maybe positive impacts, or some of the character and features that might aid negative impacts. So that's kind of shaped then my future research since then.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And how did you get right from Milford after that back to Leeds Beckett? How did you connect with the university that you're at now? Is that just where you decided? Did you play sports for them as well, or how did that work?
So I was actually had a lunch with a guy called Scott Troy. Was head of performance part of the EIS, and he's now part of the INEOS, performance director group. And he actually sat down and said, "Ffion, I think you should do a PhD." Thought I was done with education. My parents thought I was done with education as well. Before I then saw this advertisement through Leeds Beckett, and what I love about the advertisement, it was a dual research practitioner role. So I would be based as a practitioner within a school, as a strength and conditioning coach, as well as doing research and conducting a PhD. And that really appealed to me, the kind of dual and kind of bridging the gap between research and practice, and how that worked. So then I applied for the PhD and was lucky enough to get the position. And then 3 years later, here we are.
That's cool.
Are you still doing the strength and conditioning?
Yeah. So I'm still a dual research practitioner. So I'm now currently the head of athletic and physical development for the Wales national lacrosse team. I run the pathway strength and conditioning for the Leeds Runners netball, like the Super League netball pathways, and I'm the head of strength and conditioning at an independent school within the UK as well. So they keep me busy. But what I really like about that is I'm actually in these school environments. I'm embedded in, so I know the realities of practice, and then we can better inform practice through research and bridge that gap.
Wow, you're busy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of access, it sounds like, to a variety of student athletes, variety of different ages and different activities and athletics. So that's what I'm guessing. Like, you have a pretty rich variety of resources to tap into.
No, definitely. And I think in the school environment, you get a huge variety. We work with, we have 8 different performance sports. We have age groups from, I work from year 7 all the way up to year 13. And then you take into more the academy environments where it's potentially more of the serious athletes with the Super League netball pathways or, the Wales and Lacrosse national pathways. So it's a huge variety of people who really aspire to really want to make it in sport, those who just want to balance sport and education and have a fun time at school as well, but also develop athletically. So it's a really good variety, but you also see a full sphere of different abilities, different age groups, different personalities as well, which is ever demanding and exciting.
Yeah. I just have a quick question about the academies you're dealing with. Are a lot of those linked to like professional associations, or is there, when you say a pathway, does that mean like those guys are training or going to an academy to develop themselves so they can become professional at some point down the road, or are they on a contract of sorts?
So in the netball world, it's just a Super League pathway that is probably the highest pathway underneath the England setup. So we have England netball, and then we have the Super League pathways, and through that, then there is different representative age groups. So the senior Super League teams are contracted; they're professional, but the junior teams, so it's the equivalent of an Arsenal academy, but for netball, if that makes sense. So the football academies, the way that they work, it's their equivalent, but for the netball setting. It's mainly what I work in terms of that kind of context.
When you said about all the different kids and the different levels and the kids that want to go on these pathways, but also the kids just want to have fun and play sports in school, is perfect. It's music to my ears, because that's the kind of kids that we have, I think, in most of the international schools, in all of our connections. We have everything, the beginners that may never play a sport after they're done, to the ones that are trying for scholarships. So that's great. Before we get into your project, I was looking up when you said what school you went to, because believe it or not, you're not the first person that went to Milford to be on our podcast. So we had Kieran Powell, the international cricketer, on in season 2, and he went to Milford, played for the West Indies and all over. So you're like, wait a minute, I've talked about this school before. Pretty cool place.
No, I was incredibly lucky to go there. I come from Cumbria, very country, farm area in North England. So I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go, and nice. It provided me with so many opportunities, which I think, a lot of schools do, and just the opportunity to combine sport and education, which kind of set me up to where I am today, which is great.
Awesome. You never know where sports is going to take you, right? And playing sports, you start playing for fun somewhere, and then you play a bit more, and then, I don't know, I'm in Austria for that same reason. So pretty cool. Well, you have a project that could help all of our schools around the world, and then thus the students that we're trying to serve. So can you kind of introduce the project for us?
Yeah, that'd be great too. So we're basically looking to do a multinational sports school holistic impact evaluation. So we're basically inviting schools to participate internationally across the world to be a part of this project. So school sport involvement is obviously widely recognised to have many positive impacts. So improved academic performance, enhanced general health and well-being. But the intensification that youth sports within schools are going, there's also been some raised concerns around potential stress, burnout, high injury rates, the demands that these student athletes are going under, balancing academics, as well as physical workload. So basically this study aims to evaluate the multi-dimensional impacts of sports school involvement, considering academic, athletic, psychosocial and psychological development. And then hopefully these findings will offer valuable insights for school sports programs and how better we can support the holistic development. So kind of in summary, we basically want to do an evaluation to be like, actually, what are these student athletes going through? What are the demands that they're going through? And what are the experiences that student athletes are experiencing within schools, so we can make better school sports programs in the future.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty encompassing, actually. So by participating in this survey, what kind of benefits are schools going to get out of it? Like you're going to, I'm assuming you're going to get the data and you can do compile it all up and give results and explain the results of it. But if, for example, AIS Budapest decides they want to be a part of it, what can we get out of it?
So yeah, the aim is to make it as easy as possible for the schools. We understand teachers and staff within schools, practitioners in schools are super busy, and the day-to-day environments are non-stop. So we want to make it as easy as possible for the schools. So the way it kind of works is I'll provide the resources in terms of the questionnaires, and then you guys will just facilitate a 15-minute slot over 3 times across 3 weeks, where the student athletes will just fill in the questionnaire. And basically then you'll just ping the questionnaire back to me. There'll be an Excel form that's automatically generated from the questionnaire data. And then I will comprise all of the data that you have and provide you back as a school with a comprehensive report on the holistic development of your student athletes, as well as then maybe some comparative data across other schools that's similar to your setting. So kind of the benefit to you guys is you'll receive like an evaluation of the demands your students are going under, an assessment of the impact that's having on them of a holistic perspective, and hopefully it won't be too much work because I'll provide those reports for you. Yeah. Which will provide a lot of work for me, but it'll be worth it.
Right.
So just with that in mind, have you done much work with international schools yet?
Yeah, so I've actually been over in Singapore recently doing some CPD work with some of the international schools over there, around which similar kind of setup and context to I think a lot of the international school setups. So have a good understanding of how they work. But the aim of the study as well is to get represented data across multiple contexts, because we know that all contexts are different and the way that they work. So the bonus is you'll get your own report, so your own context, what your school is currently providing, but then we'll be able to compare that with similar context schools. Because again, international schools are going quite year round in some of their development. Some are more seasonal. So it depends on your program. We can have a look and how that compares with others, but most importantly, you'll get your own individual report.
Great. And then just on that, do you have a number of schools you're trying, or a goal number that you're trying to reach out to for this project?
The aim is honestly to get as many representative schools as possible, because the more data we can get, the more representative the sample is, and the more representative data is to cross compare across multiple contexts. But ideally, in terms of, we've kind of split it into regions. So ideally, we'd like at least a minimum of, 6 to 8 schools from each region. So Europe will be a region, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we've got kind of Asia, Australia, New Zealand, America, and Africa. So between those, and America and Canada, sorry, combining. So between those regions, we'll hope to at least as a minimum get,
for sure,
6 to 8 schools plus, in order to get a really good representative sample of those, the regional context.
Well, we have that many listeners, at least in those regions. So anyone who's listening that has to sign up, because it's easy, and it's only benefits, right? What's 15 minutes? Your kids fill in a survey, easy. But don't forget Latin America, because I know there's some listeners in Latin America that'll be like, "Hey, we're here too." So we'll get you that many from Latin America.
Yeah, honestly, we're any school context, and in terms of the criteria, it's any school, whether state funded or private, that concentrates resources in developing sporting talent, either through their curriculum or through extracurriculum activities. Cool. So that gives a good base from a school, and we're looking for athletes between 14 to 19. So again, we can get a good representation. We know the demands are different at different age groups as well, so we can provide you with different contexts of as kids maybe go through different stages of their educational development.
Yeah, when I think about this, I think about, of course, this is, we're always in international schools, we're always, especially in the high school level, explaining the benefits of, which we know, of being involved in a sport program and how it can add balance to your life and balance your academics with your academic load or your activity load. So, that's one of the things we're always preaching, like, you can do it. You guys can do it. Because, international schools are, especially with kids who are taking the IB, there can be a drop off where kids are going to be more focused in their last year or two of high school to gear in more towards their academic sides, especially with the IB program.
Mm-hmm.
This is something we're always promoting. Like, no, you guys, you can do both the IB and you can do 2 sports in a year, especially through your senior year, because there's more you're going to get out of being involved in these extra activities than you would by not being a part of it. So with that in mind, I'm just curious, like, is that kind of what you're looking for? And then what kind of questions might you be asking kids in these surveys, or any sample questions you might be able to provide?
Yeah, so we're looking for an assessment across all domains. So academic will be part of that, as well as then psychosocially. So how it's affecting them socially, and then psychologically and physically. So the first kind of questionnaires are based around a little bit more of the demands. So actually getting a picture of what are the demands these kids are going under from an academic. So how many hours approximately they're spending doing academic studies, doing academic homework, how many times a week are they doing training, physical activity, and then also extracurricular activities. So we can actually just get a picture of, like, what are these kids doing on a week to week basis. And then following up on that, we'll assess then in terms of academic grades, are they happy with their academic progress? Do they feel there's any conflicting? How hard do they find the balance between sport and academic workload? And then it goes on to some of the psychological and psychosocial stuff. Will be around psychosocial health, peer relationships, and then also psychologically around their health and well-being. Are they enjoying it? Fun? And then physically, we'll look around, like, injuries, physical development, sport confidence, sport competency. And we've done and piloted this study already within a couple of contexts within the UK. So we've refined this questionnaire, and we've based it on the key components of holistic development we've identified in the research, and through already a 3-year PhD project to kind of come up with this holistic questionnaire. And I think we split it then into 3 questionnaires to make it feasible for the kids, because we know their concentration might not be that extensive over more than potentially 15-20 minutes. So by splitting the questionnaire into 3 15-minute questionnaires that they do once a week over 3 weeks, it's a little bit more manageable for them, as well as the school demands. And we already know we've already had some really good evidence. So one of the contacts of the schools is they've used it as a real positive avenue for their parents around, that it showed that actually they had good academic grades. They felt afterwards they had dual career options, and there was good positive peer relationships, increased social status, life skill development through potentially combining sport and education. And then they've used that as a real platform to encourage in the future kids to keep doing sport and education. So you can take this research to identify areas you need to improve as a school, but also promote the positives of a dual career aspect, rather than this academic route which a lot of kids are getting pressurized into.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think also, like, the benefits of it's lifelong fitness, it's lifelong opportunities for sport. Like, when you said that, I thought of my own kids. Like, my son is a senior in college. He's in the US right now, but he's still involved in volleyball program. He played volleyball in our school here, in international school, Budapest. And I think it translates where, like, this is something you take with you for the rest of your life. You're not going to just do it now and learn the basic fundamentals, but there's all kinds of things that are going to benefit you through throughout your life, being involved in your school sport program, for sure.
Well,
definitely. And I think, just to add, I was going to say, I think we presume a lot of things within an environment, but often this is an opportunity to really give the child's voice. So the opportunity for the kids to really express how they're feeling, how they're enjoying their environment. And there'll be lots of positive things that schools are doing, but areas for improvement. And I think that if you then use this research in a way then to just create an even better program going forward. And I think we often presume things and we have our own hypothesis. This is a way of proving a lot of probably our potential inklings or findings, and having information to back up and support maybe some of the arguments we might be having.
Right. Yeah, great way to sell your program, Nick.
Yeah, no, I love it. Obviously, hearing what the students have to say, and I survey our students at the end of each season. But a part of every survey, you hit on it before, is you have to collect and go through the data, so that takes time. So my end of year survey for the students is primarily focused on the coaches, and that's their main coach evaluation comes from the kids. But I throw in a few questions about themselves, but I try to keep it as short as possible. And I get some really great responses, but they know I'm reading it. Even though I don't pass their names on to the coaches, they know that I know everything they write, good or bad. So I like this. This is anonymous. This is from an outside source. So if there's any kids at your school that are like not really sure if they should say something, or even if it is in a survey, even if it is kind of anonymous, here they know that no one at their school will know what they write. Know it's from them, right? Which is nice.
Yeah, and with this survey, they'll create their own personal participant ID. So
Okay.
there's nowhere in this survey that they'll write their name. So any of the information will never be kind of linked back to them in terms of from a personal point of view, which I think will create really open and honest answers in kind of an unbiased point of view from an external source, kind of collecting some of the questionnaires and data, which will be great.
Okay, so logistical question then. They have their own ID because they have to do it 3 different times, right? So if a student doesn't do the first one, they're not at school that week, or they just didn't do it, can they do the second part and the third part?
Yes, so there'll be an opportunity. So in the second part, they'll either create their new participant ID or they just re-put in. We've given them a remit to follow for the participant ID. So when they go back, they might have probably forgotten their ID that they've created. They just follow their remit again. So it'll be creating letters. So it'll be a way that makes them remember it, or they can figure out what they've created based on the remit, but not in a way that'll ever be identifiable back to them. Cool. And in terms of the schools as well, if you guys sign up, only myself will know the schools that have signed up for the project. And your name will not be shared with any other schools, or your data will only ever be used on a wide kind of summary values of averages. Again, it won't be passed on to another school. Like everything will be kept anonymous. You'll get your individual report, and then everything else will be used just averages and summaries, and anything that's in final reports or anything to anyone else will be anonymized as well.
Yeah, so this is great. We got the general idea. So how do schools participate? How can they take part in the survey, or what do they need to do?
So the best thing is to email myself. So Ffion, so Ffion .thompson@leedsbeckett.ac.uk. Drop me an email, and then I can provide them with the further information they need in terms of if they want to answer more questions about it, or they want a recruitment information letter, or if they just want to sign up, I can then provide them with any further details that they want.
Super. And that'll be in the show notes, and it'll be in a newsletter. Listeners, you can also rewind and get that email again, but we'll make sure you have it.
Is there a window of time that this needs to be done in, or any deadlines of sorts we should know about?
So in terms of, depends on regionally, when we're looking to collect data for respective schools. So if you're in Europe, we're looking to collect that data around November, so the 11th, 18th, and 25th. So obviously, as long as you've signed up and got everything approved by the school before then. And then in terms of America is around similar, it's end of October, November, America and Canada. And then if you're wider in kind of Australia and New Zealand, it is more around the March period, as well as Africa. And then pretty much all the international schools will be around October, November, if that makes it easier for international school contacts.
Yeah, perfect. And those days specifically, just questions popping into my head, like maybe listeners would as well. You mentioned 3 days in November, so the kids would have to fill them in on those 3 days, or somewhere close.
So you'll get a week for each. 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So each questionnaire you'll be given a week.
Perfect.
So I understand it's in schools and ever-changing environments when the kids might be available may be different. So approximately, and again, if we say 11th as 1 week, 18th, 25th,
gotcha.
But if you need to move that either side by 1 week, then it is flexible as long as it's approximately within that period of time.
Well, I hope people jump on the chance to learn more about their program with little work on their side and all the work on your side. which is nice for a change.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people are asking us always to do more work, and now you're taking it, so that's great. Leeds Beckett is a name that I think people around Europe know. At least I coach kids. You'll see the logo down there. There's some conferences. At least sticks out to me. But my boss is also from Leeds, so maybe I'm more in tune to Leeds. But is there anything else happening? Do you guys have conferences? Anything else? Yeah, from your university?
Yes, it's a really exciting time. We just launched a new centre in children and adolescent physical literacy. So it's the first centre in the whole of Europe for this space. And we're actually looking at July next year of doing a conference around children and adolescent physical literacy. One of the contexts of the days will be around schools, environment, and then pretty much annually. So that will link in this year to one big conference with one day focus around schools. And then every year we have an LTAD in schools conference where we're looking to have practitioners from across the UK, across the world to learn around long-term athletic development, and not just around the athletic performance side, but also around PE curriculums, general physical activity, participation, all ways that we can kind of promote physical activity for life. Cool. So that's a conference to look out for every year, and especially this July, our centre conference, and as well as then future events that we might have.
Super. Well, that's what I love. We love to share resources. So if I'm on your mailing list for those conferences, I'll put it into ours and share it out. So
on that note, Leeds. Never been there. Don't know much about it. What's your favorite thing about Leeds, or what could you share to us and our audience about Leeds?
Well, I'm a Liverpool fan, so definitely not the football club. But But what I love about Leeds is actually it's quite a small city in retrospect to some of the other cities in England. But Yorkshire Dales is about 15-20 minute drive just outside of Leeds, which is the most beautiful countryside, amazing walks, great pubs, and some lovely town villages. So actually, if you're in Leeds, get out to the countryside, to the Yorkshire Dales. That's, for me, is where the glorious pie is. Perfect.
So nothing about the city. That's great. Just wanted to make sure I read between the lines there. Go to the city and then leave.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Some good parts about the city too. The rugby league's good. We've got a big partnership with Leeds Rhinos rugby league, so probably should give them a bit of a plug.
Cool. No, I'm teasing, of course. Great. Well, thanks for sharing. I hope some schools sign up and pepper you with questions about what else they need to do and things like that. I know I have my paperwork from you. I got it this week, so I'll sign that off and get it back to you and make it official. But yeah, thanks for being with us.
No, sounds good, and hopefully we can come on and then discuss the results in the future.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Looking forward.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, and hopefully schools will sign up, and feel free anyone to contact me with any questions they have.
Perfect.
For sure. Well, all the best on your research, and like Nick said, we look forward to hear about the results and how this can help better our schools and our situations, promote our programs, and ultimately make things better for our kids. So appreciate it.
Kukri Sports is a clothing brand that specializes in providing the world's most prestigious schools with bespoke made and designed team uniforms. If you're frustrated by inconsistent colors, branding, cost, and sizing across your teams, then it's time to email someone at Kukri Sports today. When you email contact@kukrisports.com, tell them about the Globetrottin ADs, and you'll receive a special offer on your coach or PE staff order. This has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs. We hoped you enjoyed it. And until the next episode drops, head over to globetrottinads.com or visit us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.